Hello, friends. Welcome to the April Reads. Welcome to June. No. Welcome to my May reads. So it was a rough reading month because I was sick for like 2 full weeks of it. I did read a bit during my illness, but I was very not feeling it the first week, and I was reading a really heavy book, which we shall talk about. But yeah, I'm going to be nice to myself. I read 8 books, 2 graphic novels, 3 audiobooks, and 3 physical books. Not too shabby for being sick. So let's get into it. Okay. The first book we finished in May was Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaghy. This was an audiobook. I was listening to it for a while. Charlotte McConaghy wrote Wilde, Dark Shore, which is on my TBR up here. She kind of writes like thrillery. They're not quite a thriller, but they're like high stakes, I feel like. This one followed a woman who was trying to reintroduce wolves into the Scottish Highlands as part of like a rewilding initiative that is supposed to help the environment. It's supposed to help like the food chain, etc., all these good things, because they were hunted to extinction in Scotland, because there's a lot of sheep farmers. So her arrival prompted a lot of backlash from the town. It is about her dealing with her traumatic past. I would say check trigger warnings on this one. There is domestic violence, there is animal violence. It was a hard listen, but I really also enjoyed it. So it is serious, it is tough, but it was a good story. I took just like one quote on my phone when I was listening. There was a lot of good moments, but the one that I took down was, "A man's anger, his violence, is no one's responsibility but his own." A lot of male violence, male ego built into this one. I really liked it though. I rented it through my library, listened on Libby. My friend Leah, who owns Celerbird Books in Grand Rapids, Michigan, it's one of her faves, and she had a book club for it at her store. I couldn't make it to the book club, but I still wanted to read the book. And I think my review on Goodreads was just like, wow, brutal, because it is pretty brutal. But I would definitely recommend. I gave it 4 stars. Next was a graphic novel. This was Our Pact by Ryan Andrews. I talked about this in a vlog. It was very cutesy. It was very lovely. I saw a comment that said it should be a Studio Ghibli movie. Could definitely see that. A very cute story about the pressures of being a kid and like the group dynamic of being cool or not cool and who should you be friends with, mixed into this magical realism adventure of these kids following the lanterns that they light off every year, following them to see where they end up. Hijinks ensued. They met a very wonderful, colorful cast of characters along the way. It was lovely. It was cute. It was a good escape. I didn't star it, but I had a good time. Next was Human X by Kang, translated by Deborah Smith. Again, this was in a vlog. It was a book club book for a local bookstore called Books and Mortar. I got very sick during the book club, so I missed it. Big old bummer. It was really hard. Again, check your trigger warnings. It is a historic fiction book about South Korea's government kind of going into dictatorship mode in the 80s and the uprising of its citizens and the very violent rebuttal from the government. A lot of civilians were killed, a lot of children were killed, a lot of students. And this book focuses on telling the story of different people affected by the uprising. So the first chapter is a boy who is working to sort the dead bodies that have accumulated from protests in the streets. The government just opened fire and machetes, and it was awful. So like a middle schooler kid helping to sort and identify bodies. And the second was the story of the boy's friend who was killed. It was his soul kind of hanging out near his body. And then it kind of devolved into post uprising. It was like a journalist or like a publisher who was dealing with censorship, and a author who wanted to speak out about what happened, and just the brutality of it all. It goes on and on. Each chapter is a different character. It was beautiful and very, very difficult. Han Kang also wrote The Vegetarian, which has been on my radar for a while, and I do want to read it. It's like a horror book. And this is not far from horror, except for that it's historical fiction, which is even scarier. I underlined a lot. This is a few years past the uprising. She thought she'd come to terms with the idea of dying, yet something about death itself, the various forms it might take, still disturbed her. Having seen and handled so many dead, she'd imagined she would have become inured to it all. But on the contrary, her fear had increased. She didn't want her last breath to be a gasp from a gaping mouth, didn't want translucent intestines spilling out through a gash torn into her body. Brutal. One theme I really loved in this was like courage, and how do you have the courage to fight back against a government with your fist against guns, and put yourself in this danger. And there was a lot of talk about the crowd and how you gain courage through each other. So this was part of like the censorship chapter. This is the author trying to speak out. I'm just going to read the whole thing. The decisive factor dominating the morality of the crowd has not yet been clearly identified. One point of interest is the emergence in situ of a particular ethical fluctuation separate from the moral standing of the individuals who constitute a crowd. Certain crowds do not blanch at the prospect of looting, murder, and rape, while on the other hand, others display a level of courage and altruism which those making up that same crowd would have had difficulty in achieving as individuals. The author argues that, rather than this latter type of crowd being made up of especially noble individuals, the nobility, which is a fundamental human attribute, is able to manifest itself through borrowed strength from the crowd. Also similarly, the former case in which one humanity's essential barbarism is exacerbated not by the especially barbaric nature of any of the individuals involved, but through the magnification which occurs naturally in crowds. Yeah, because I often think I wouldn't have the courage to do that, and there's so much going on and I should be doing more now. Ugh. Very important, very difficult, but would recommend. Next was Garlic and the Vampire, a graphic novel by Bree Paulson. This was super cute, super light. A witch animates vegetables from her garden to help her garden. So they're little veggies that are gardeners. And the garlic is our main character, and she's really nervous. And a vampire seems to move into town, and everybody's scared of the vampire. But they send Garlic because vampires are afraid of garlic. But she herself is not courageous about it. Again, themes of courage. This was very cute, very short, magical realism at its best, and I would recommend for sure. Next, Beautyland by Helene-Bertino. This is a 5-star book for me. Celebrate the 5-star. I again read this one for a book club at Books and Mortar. This was a sci-fi book club pick, and our book club had a very long debate about whether this is sci-fi or not. And most of us landed on the fact that it is not sci-fi. It is literary fiction with a little hint of sci-fi. This is not a spoiler, but the sci-fi aspect is that our main character, Adina Giorno, is different. She is placed by this alien race on Earth to decipher if Earth is a good place for this alien species to move to, because their own planet is dying. And there's a lot, she talks to them in her dreams. She goes to like this classroom place where they talk to her in her dreams. And they don't really communicate. They don't talk. They like, you know, they're telepathic or whatever. And the words don't sound like words to us. They sort of sound like sounds. And the planet is called cricket rice, because that's what it sounds like, a cricket jumping out a plate of rice. So it's weird, but it is a really amazing reflection on humanity and what it is to be human, because she's just like collecting wisdoms basically to report back to her species about what humans are like and what the world is like. Some people in the book club didn't think she was an alien. They just thought she was autistic, and her otherness and her autism created that alien feeling. I want and do believe that she is an alien. When she was young, her mom wouldn't let her get a dog. It says, hair and nails grow and are cut, limbs lengthen. Daughter asks for a dog and mother says no. Daughter asks, well, how about pierced ears then, if she is expected to live in this dogless hell? Agreed. Adulthood seems like a years-long equation to beat traffic. Yes, except for now I work from home and I don't need traffic. Ha 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 ha. Oh, and she speaks to them in her dreams, but also she faxes them, and they fax her back responses. So she has a fax machine. Oh, and I liked this one. A hobby is a pleasant way to pass time and to distract oneself. Stamp collecting, baking, a way for the mind to say, look over here. But it can't stop the inevitable. Hobbies are a way of staying present so humans do not have to think about death, yet the inevitable looms and grows. This was amazing. I flew through it. There is some depression and grief portrayal as well. I really enjoyed its portrayal of grief and its insight on it. I super duper love this. This is going on my favorites shelf, and it will stay there. Next, Done and Dusted by Lyla Sage. I've jumped on the bandwagon. I listened to this book. I listened to it in 2 days in two sittings. I wasn't sitting. I was gardening. I listened to it over Memorial Day weekend when I was doing a bunch of gardening. It's like a 6.5 hour audiobook. It was great. I think I personally am more of a closed door romance fan. I don't need explicit, drawn out scenes. And I would say this is more of a open door romance. So I could like gloss over that. But I liked the story. I thought that the characters were well-rounded. The third act conflict wasn't silly or like frustrating like it can often be. You know, like these people make their own problems, and that's what a romance novel is. But no, I thought it was a serious and like a good plot. And the character, you know, has human flaws like anxiety, and I really enjoyed it. I think my ideal romance, I know my ideal romance so far is Abby Jimenez. I love all of her books, and like Rebel Blue Ranch, Abby Jimenez books are they're different characters obviously for love stories, but all within like the same universe, same town, same like all the fringe people of one book are the main characters of another book, and that is, I understand how the Rebel Blue Ranch series works as well. I think I shall continue listening just as they come in on the library. I'm not gonna like seek them out super hard myself. But I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it if you like romance. No complaints at all. I think it would be like a 3.5 or a 4-star for me. Okay. Next, I also listened to this book, Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. This was a really good nonfiction read. It was filled with things that I already knew and a couple concepts that I didn't, which was nice. And it's all about how, you know, in America, we don't care to fix poverty. We just shuffle money around and pretend like we're trying to do something that will help people, but not really. I enjoyed, like, one of the concepts that was kind of newer to me and hit a little close to home was like employment and contract workers. I am now a contract employee, so I'm like contracted out to one organization, and how that's really not good for our for the people, because contractors can be let go at such short notice. They're usually not paid as much, like, so like the organization I work for doesn't have to pay for my like benefits or anything like that. I'm just a number, honestly. And it feels very transactional, which is hard to get used to. This is my first contract gig that I started this year. So like that in particular for me was really insightful, but there was a lot more to be dug into. And I really appreciated his referencing of other names that I knew, like James Baldwin and Robin Wall Kimmerer, and like names I knew and things that were like not necessarily tied to economics and like poverty, but definitely fill in. Like the Robin Wall Kimmerer reference, she wrote Braiding Sweetgrass, which is like one of my faves ever. And that's all about nature, but like the concepts of reciprocity and abundance in nature can definitely apply to like economics and poverty. And I really, really appreciated that tie. So I would say read it if you can. I knew it was out because he was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and he was interviewed for this book. I did read like 10 years ago, it's up there somewhere, Evicted by this same author. It talks about the perils of home ownership and renting, and that was very powerful as well and stuck with me. So I was glad to read this one. I would recommend. It's a short listen. I listened again on Libby through my library, but I really liked it. I would recommend for sure. Next, Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries, Book 1 of the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. This is a book club read for my friend book club, which is meeting next week. Oh, it's so floppy. I love that. I love a paperback. I think I've mentioned it here at some point that my friend book club, we don't really have like a theme or like a point to our books. We're kind of just like, our approach to picking a book is, oh, we haven't done that genre yet, or that, whatever yet. And we haven't done anything fantastical or fairy-like yet. So I was a little hesitant. Fairies are not like my go-to, but I really liked this one. I think I'd give it like 4 stars. It is a little wandery. Like there's not one like main conflict and resolution. There are a lot of conflicts along the way, and then kind of a grand finale. But it's set in like the early 1900s, and my only qualm, how old do you think the character named Wendell Bambleby, Dr. Wendell Bambleby, is? Think about it. I thought 60. Turns out he is not 60. He is a young, handsome, charming man, around 30 or so, I would say. That really threw me when she started talking about him in not ways you would refer to a colleague of 60 or so. So that was a little weird for me. But it follows Emily. She heads to this very wintry, it's like a made-up land, but like Scandinavia, where she is trying to learn and write about the folk, the fairy folk. In this world, fairies are widely known, little understood, very regional. So like each region has their own type of fairy and like their own traditions and stories. And stories are very important to understanding fairies and the lore and the academia around it. Emily is a professor at Cambridge. And so the fairies are not cutesy. They are feared and respected, and they can be very malevolent in their actions. Townspeople of like rural areas, or like where they are in Scandinavia, like leave offerings and hope for the best. But there are different like types of fairy. There are like kind of more forest nymphy entities, and then there are courtly fae, and the courtly fae look like humans, but they are powerful and not friendly, not good. They think of humans as their playthings, really. And this town that she visits, they've been stealing humans, mostly children, and if they come back, they are like not themselves. Their brains are kind of broken. They've been messed with too much. So it's a little dark, which I think I appreciated. I didn't want like a fluffy magical realism fairy. It's not my vibe right now. Could be in the future. So it is Emily trying to learn about the folk and the fae and the fairies of this area. She gets into some hijinks, some shenanigans, and I thought it was a good time. So much so that I finished it and immediately started listening to book 2. Surprised myself even. So I gave it like a 4. I would recommend it. I'm continuing in the story, and at this, I'm like almost done with book 2. I think I'd go on with book 3. I think I'll find it on Libby and listen to that one. Yeah, cool. Those were the 8 books I read in May. I bought 2 books in May as well. The first one I bought was American Bulk, Essays on Excess by Emily Mester. I purchased this in Royal Oak when we were there for the concert and the trip for the Tigers. From Sidetrack Bookshop. It was a really cute bookshop that had a like regular bookstore and then a children's bookstore broken out. They were like kind of connected, and it was like right on some train tracks. So it was, I liked the name and the theme. And I actually had seen this book from CJ Reads. They read it, and CJ owns Sunny's Book Truck in Arizona, I think. And it sounded really interesting. It's not that long, like just over 200 pages, just about how much stuff we have. She reflects on the joys and anxieties of family Costco trips, how a seasonal stint at Ulta Beauty taught her the insidious art of the sale and what it means to get mall sad. So it's all about like our culture of things, and other than books, which I accumulate a lot of, I've been trying not to have so many things, and it stresses me out to think about things. So I hope this is insightful. I'm excited to read it. I also picked up All Fours by Miranda July. It is officially in paperback. Just came out in paperback. This was all over the place in 2024. And Maggie, my favorite bookseller at Books and Mortar, this was one of her top books of 2024, and it is to be a book club pick for next month, and I'm really excited about it. I don't know that much about it. I have on purpose like not really read the back of it. I know it's like the sexual awakening of a woman in her mid 40s/50 ? I'm not quite sure. She like has a husband and a kid, but she like leaves on a solo trip and learns about herself. I've heard it's sensual, erotic, strange, amazing. But this will be one of my next physical reads. I'm very excited about it. Yay. All right, that's it. I think that's plenty. I hope I keep saying April. I hope your May reading was lovely. Good luck on June. Be nice to yourselves. It's not about numbers. It's about enjoying yourself. I'd love to hear what people are reading. If you would care to share, feel free to let me know. And we will see you soon. Bye.